Alright, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock for the 2025 NFL Draft. Who will they take in this first mock draft after the regular season? Well, let's get started. The Titans couldn't pick their starting quarterback mid-season, so it's hard to not mock them a quarterback at first overall. The question is less if they will take a quarterback, it's more which quarterback will they take. I've already put out a video about Shedeur Sanders, and I will have one out about Cam Ward this Friday. But if you know me, you know I love me some Cam Ward. Tennessee takes the Miami quarterback first overall in this mock draft. Another QB needy team is picking second overall, but this one is tougher. This team is still paying Massage Watson a ton of money, but they recently restructured his contract so it's easier to let him go after 2025. And for that reason, it might be easier to tank for a top QB in the 2026 NFL Draft. Another thing to examine is the draft value of Colorado athlete Travis Hunter. Teams will have to determine if he's worth a top 5 pick because he can play both sides of the ball, or if he's not worth a top 5 pick because he's not the best at either position. I still have Cleveland taking him anyway. Hunter goes second. This leaves the worst quarterback situation in the league with the quarterback to take at third overall. I would still evaluate every option on the table, including Will Johnson, Kelvin Banks, or Tetairoa McMillan. But it's a fairly easy decision if Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders is still on the board. That's who New York goes with at this pick, leaving other QB needy teams with a tough decision. The New England Patriots had the perfect situation to pick Travis Hunter first overall, and then they blew it. Gerard Mayo is now out, and this team's pick becomes harder to make. They could use some help on both sides of the ball, but we've seen a trend where teams pair young QBs with top-end wide receiver prospects. Defense is definitely possible here, but I have New England taking Arizona wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan at 4th overall. Watch for this team to even trade back up into the first round later on. As we talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars at pick 5, there's no doubt this team needs help. Luckily, the Jags have 10 picks in this draft, but are not expected to receive any compensatory picks. The 27th ranked defense should be their first priority. The question is where. After spending 2 picks on defensive tackle in 2024, they go cornerback in 2025 by taking Michigan's Will Johnson at 5th overall. Watch for the Raiders to pursue Sam Darnold and Russell Wilson heavily this offseason as they miss out on one of the top 2 quarterbacks. They miss out on the top cornerbacks as well, which is probably their second biggest need. But are you hearing that? That sounds like Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty beast moding his way to Vegas. Nah, it's too risky. I wouldn't be shocked if they traded down, but for the sake of this mock draft, they go with Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham. Not who they would want, but still a stud. One more year of Aaron Rodgers? That's what the New York Jets should be hoping for as they pick 7th overall. The next question I will ask is if Hassan Reddick is willing to return to New York after a disaster season with them. And if he isn't, this pick's a no-brainer for me. Take the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter. Now on to the Carolina Panthers at number 8. The surge of Bryce Young was a sight to see after going for 10 touchdowns and no turnovers in the last 3 weeks of the season. The defense was a disaster this season, and it would not shock me if Carolina took the 3rd straight D lineman off the board. That's why Georgia's Mykel Williams is the pick here for the Panthers. The New Orleans Saints faked us out this season, and suddenly they are now contenders for the 1st overall pick in 2026. This 9th overall pick is crucial for them to not let that happen, and this could come down to who they decide to hire at head coach. I think it's time to move on from Trevor Penning, and possibly get Fuaga back to his natural right tackle spots. The Saints take LSU tackle Will Campbell at number 9 for that reason. If the Chicago Bears don't take an offensive tackle at 10th overall, these fans might recreate the Great Chicago Fire. Is it up to Ryan Poles, or is he gone? If he stays, this pick will be crucial for his approval rate. Texas offensive tackle and Lombardi Award winner Kelvin Banks Jr. is the pick here. The 49ers are hard to pick for as injuries derailed their season from week 4. At the same time, they can lose a ton of important free agents. They can't re-sign all of them. I'm specifically zoning in on offensive line yet again, as 49ers fans who watch my channel know that I hate how this team has built their O-line through the years. Give me the third straight tackle off the board in Ohio State's Josh Simmons. I'm going to go through this fast. Dallas Cowboys, just take Ashton Jeanty. He's right there. That's the end of the pick. Yet another team that needs O-line help in Miami at pick 13. But I've also called out before the season that this team has a weak linebacker core. At the time, there wasn't particularly a linebacker worth taking that high outside of maybe Harold Perkins. But now, there's another one. Georgia linebacker Jalen Walker stays down south and goes to the Dolphins here. There is a realistic chance that the Indianapolis Colts could take the first tight end at pick 14, but I would call that a missed opportunity. Hypothetically, if all of their free agents don't re-sign, the starting safeties in Indy would be Nick Cross and Rodney Thomas. Georgia's Malachi Starks is here to help, and that's who they take at 14. The Falcons came so close to the playoffs, but instead they get the 15th overall pick. There's one direction they should really go here, and that's buff up the pass rush like they've failed to do in the draft the past few years. So in this mock, they go with Texas A&M outside linebacker Nick Scorton. I would call this season a success for the Arizona Cardinals, but they have more potential to unlock. That could start with going the same direction as the Falcons and buffing their pass rush, which ranks 31st this season according to PFF. Yes, Nick Scorton might be off the board, but James Pierce Jr. is still there. They take the Tennessee edge rusher at 16th overall. The biggest question for Cincy this offseason is if they can retain both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this offseason. Even if they can't, the consensus wide receiver pick is not where I'm going. I think Iosivas is a starting talent, and they have plenty of free agent wide receiver options. They should address this low-end defense, and if they do, East Carolina cornerback Sharon Reval is a good option. He's no longer a secret, and he goes 17th overall. As for the Seattle Seahawks, it might be time to move either Cross or Lucas inside and take an offensive tackle. 74% of PFF users agree, so I'm going to follow that path as well. Next best tackle is Minnesota's Ariante Ursary, so he's the selection here at pick 18. I might have botched that name though. As we get into the playoff teams here, keep in mind this is PFF's draft order. So as the Houston Texans pick 19th overall, they could really use some help on that interior D-line. Luckily for them, this defensive tackle class is absolutely stacked, and there are many options for them. Don't be surprised if they stay in-state and take Shamar Stewart, but to better fit their scheme, they'll take Michigan's Kenneth Grant at 19. I think this Denver pick is hilarious. I mocked Mizzou wide receiver Luther Burden to the Broncos very early on in this draft season. Difference is, though, he was mocked at 3rd overall. In this one, I keep him mocked to the Broncos, but all the way back in 20th. Denver lands Burden in yet another CKJ mock draft. The Tampa Bay Bucks are a fun team to pick for at 21. They don't have any huge holes, but they have a ton of second level needs. This pick could really go anywhere. I would probably prioritize adding another run defender, but they can get plenty of those later on. I'm just going to mock them a cornerback, specifically Notre Dame's Benjamin Morrison, as they do have a couple low-end starters and can add Morrison in case one of them leaves. Pittsburgh has a decision to make. Is George Pickens really the next franchise wideout? They need to answer that now with Mike Williams, Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, and Ben Skoranek all hitting free agency. You can be safe and draft a wideout as well. They take Ohio State's Emeka Egbuka at 22nd in this mock. The LA Rams have two positions to center on in this draft: offensive tackle and cornerback. The young defense shined this year, but cornerback was a clear hole. And at tackle, you have Alaric Jackson and a 32-year-old Rob Havenstein. It comes down to which position has better depth, and to me, that's cornerback. So they take West Virginia offensive tackle Wyatt Milam in this mock draft. Come on, Green Bay. I know you guys love Eric Stokes, but there was a clear hole when Jair Alexander went down. And on top of that, Alexander might be out of Green Bay as well. This team took 3 safeties in the 2024 draft, and it might be time to take 3 cornerbacks in this one. Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron is the 24th overall pick here. Chargers fans, is it fair for me to narrow down your pick to tight end? There are 2 athletic freaks at the top of that position in this class, and I'm sure both of them would start over Will Dissly right now. The question is, which one do you take? Consensus likes Tyler Warren more, so that's my pick here. Warren goes 25th overall. The Commanders desperately need defensive help, and that has been on showcase since week 9. This starts off the edge, as unfortunately Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong just didn't work out. You have a versatile defensive lineman falling into your lap here, as Texas A&M's Shamar Stewart is the 26th pick in this mock. The Ravens have a very well-rounded squad. Even when looking at their free agents, no lingering needs stick out to me. Except for one. You know, part of being a successful squad is that you don't have to wait for an interior O-lineman. You don't have to reach for one. They can take the first one off the board here. And they do just that by taking Alabama guard Tyler Booker at 27th overall. This offseason is gonna be fun for Vikings fans. That's obvious sarcasm, as they have to deal with their quarterback, top 2 running backs, and more hitting the market. This pick can wildly change based on their free agency moves, but as it stands now, I have them taking Ole Miss cornerback Trey Amos at 28. Every time I look at Buffalo's roster, I notice one massive hole: defensive tackle. Yes, they have Ed Oliver, but he sucked in run defense this season. Similar to how the Jets signed Javon Kinlaw, get Oliver a better guy to line up alongside him and make sure he's a great run defender. Take advantage of this strong defensive tackle class and pick Ohio State's Tyleik Williams at 29th overall. When I first saw this pick, I went, now why would Philly take yet another edge rusher? Then I saw Josh Sweat is hitting the free agency market. In the words of Lethal Shooter,
I understand it now.
Give me rising star edge rusher Mike Green out of Marshall at number 30. The end of Travis Kelce's career is coming, and they need a predecessor to him if they want Mahomes to keep balling like he is. While I love Jared Wiley, it's unrealistic to call him that predecessor given where he lands on the depth chart. So the fall of Michigan tight end Colston Loveland stops now, as the Chiefs take him here. PFF has the Lions winning the Super Bowl, which I love. As for their draft pick, Josh Paschal had one more chance to solidify himself as that number 2 edge rusher, and he failed. So now you have to pick that guy to line up alongside Hutchinson, which I thought they should have done last year. If you don't re-sign Marcus Davenport, you pick Arkansas edge rusher Landon Jackson with the final pick in this 2025 NFL mock draft. Wait, are you not subscribed yet? Well, do it now. I release content like this all the time and would really appreciate your support. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and I will see you all next time.